The fire is burning pretty fast on this one, my god. So all of the early reactions and early reviews that I've seen and read regarding this movie, they have been tearing it a new grave. This is classified across the board as one of the worst comic book movies of all time. Not only that though, it has one of the worst marketing campaigns I have seen maybe in the past 2 years. Maybe more than that. Because the job of a trailer is to get you excited, and Madame Web did the exact opposite for me. But I think secretly that was Sony's intention. And I think at the box office, this movie is going to be a financial success. And now bear with me on this statement. I think, with the word of mouth that's going around on social media at the moment, I think when you hear someone talk about how shit Madame Web is, I think then that person is going to tell his friend, and then that person is going to go see Madame Web to see if it does hold that bar and that standard that critics and audiences are holding this movie as. And then that friend who just got out of Madame Web is going to call up his best mate and tell him, and then he's going to go see it. And it's like a virus. It spreads from person to person to person. And I think with audiences, they want to see exactly how bad this movie is going to be. And so I think while the word of mouth and the reception of this movie is bad, I think that's generally is what is going to make this movie a success. And I think in particular between 13 and 15-year-olds, they're going to take their best friends, they're going to take their fucking girlfriends, they're going to take their they're going to take their wives to go fucking see this. And so I think this movie is going to be a financial success at the box office. And I think that all started with the trailer, with the bad word of mouth that started, and then that's carried over to this movie. So it's a very consistent rhythm of what Sony is doing with this movie. So anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there. But this is a film that I had some caution going into, but I was also kind of holding out for hope. I was holding out for hope that maybe somewhere in the world this movie might be okay. Because I'm actually someone who generally enjoys the Sony Spider-Man universe. So Morbius was a hated success, and that movie is popular due to the memes that it started, the whole It's Morbin time, all of that. And that was a terrible movie. I think that's what Madame Web is going to be there. So I think there's going to be memes coming out saying that it's Madame Web time, or something like that is going to come out of this movie. People are going to start making memes in the next 2-3 weeks about this movie. But Morbius, I didn't mind as a movie. It wasn't a great movie by any means, but it was a perfectly watchable, just shut your brain off entertainment. And now coming over to Madame Web. This movie, as I said about Morbius, this should be the fucking Blu-ray quote. It isn't as bad as what I thought. Don't get me wrong. This is a bad movie. There's a lot of story issues. There's a lot of logic and writing issues in this movie. But, I was entertained. I had a good time with this movie. The action for what you get in this is fine. There's not a lot of things I can say that I actually liked about the movie, but I think it has a promising setup. I think there's a really strong opening scene for our main villain in the movie, which we'll talk about him in just a second. The performances were fine. What is it? Dakota Johnson. Yeah, she was. She was passable in the movie. Like, everyone does a good job for the shitty script that they are given. All of the action, I did feel though that it was just explosion for the sake of explosion, and in particular the end fight between Madam Web and well, she's not Madam Web yet, but Dakota Johnson's character, forget her fucking name, but her and Ezekiel, like, it's just like these fireworks that are coming out of the fucking building. And I think that's a trope with every Marvel movie, is it has to have a big end climax, fucking all in explosions everywhere, just go full out with the budget. And I think that's a requirement on any Marvel contract, is make the third act as big as you can. And so they threw everything that they could here, and it doesn't make the movie any better. Like, it's explosion for the sake of explosion. So anyways, so going on from that, the story here is interesting. There's a lot of interesting concepts in this movie. Yeah, I mean, I can't say the execution here is good at all. What can I say here? Like, I don't know. I'm just baffled for words. Like, I don't know how to speak about this movie. But this is not the right story for Madam Web. I don't know what her origin is in the comics. I'm not educated on her character. But this was the wrong story approach to take for a Madam Web, origin story. Because a lot of, she should not have even become Madam Web in this movie. Because there's a scene at the end where she falls off this building into the water, and then a second later she is instantly blind. Like, it's that shit that you just cannot wrap your head around. And the fact that her character becomes Madam Web in the first place, and the journey that she takes throughout this movie, is so inconsistent. It's so fucking jumbled. Same with the fucking editing in this movie. It shows you glimpses of what is going to happen in the future. And it's inserted in the most weirdest of places throughout this movie. And I think one of the problems I had with the ending of this movie is, if her character can predict the future, how come she couldn't predict that she was going to go fucking blind? Like, she could have easily prevented that. And the way that this script executes Dakota Johnson's character makes her look like a bad person. Because there's a death that happens, fuck it, you aren't going to go see the movie anyways. There's a character that dies about midway throughout the movie, and she sees his death before it even happens. And then a few moments later, it does happen. And it's this big mourning scene, and in the theater, I was just like, you could have easily fucking prevented this. You could have easily prevented this. Like, why did he not fucking stop him? Like, and now you're sad over a death that you fucking caused. Like, this is a terrible, terrible script. Like, my God. And, if she can predict that she's going to go blind, wouldn't she want to prevent that as well? But no, the movie's excuse is because it's in the fucking script. It's the script here. Like, it's the script that made her go blind. It's not her fucking character. This should never have happened in the first place. If she can predict the future, prevent the fucking blindness. Like, the only reason you did that is because that's Madam Web's character in the comics, is you have to have a reason for a character going blind, and this movie's reason is, oh, just fucking make her fall off a building, go into water. And then we will just tell the audience that she's blind. You know, we don't know how, but she's blind now. She's Madam Web. So yeah, that was annoying. And I'm just trying to think of other things that are just really bad about this movie. Ezekiel is a very one-note villain. I think in concept and on paper, he is an interesting villain, but once again, like, his character is not well executed or well utilized in here. Like, the only reason he's going after Dakota Johnson's character and these 3 girls is because they attack him in the future, or they kill him in the future, and so he wants to prevent that from happening. And it's such a one-note motivation, and it doesn't make your villain interesting. There's no depth to his character. His character has the same expression throughout the whole movie. One thing I guess I can give him is the suit is cool. The suit's cool, but once again, it's a rip-off of Spider-Man's suit, just a different fucking color. Like, there's all the attempt at original ideas in this movie have already been done better in other comic book superhero movies, and this movie just rips it off. Fuck yeah, there is so much, there's so much to tear apart in this movie. Yeah, like, I literally just got out of the theater from watching this. I haven't had time to kind of, think all this through. But there's just so many circumstances that happen in this movie just for the sake of happening. They happen because that's what the script requires. And there's this tribe in the movie that I thought they could have done more with. If anything, the tribe was the most interesting part of the movie. I wanted to know more about how they live, how they hunt, what they do, but that barely even happens in this movie. It's like, it's in the opening scene, and then that's it. They never get talked about once throughout this movie. And you never go to see them. And I think something that would have been an interesting idea for this movie is for Dakota Johnson's character to go, spend a couple of days with them to see their lifestyle, to kind of train herself. I think that would have been a much better origin story than what we got in this, because this is an origin story that I feel wasn't intended as an origin story, because it all feels very out of place in here. And the attempt at comedy in here is so bad. Like, it's, yeah, like, the comedy, it's like the movie's telling you to laugh, but then it's the different mashes of tone that are in the comedy, and it's supposed to be something that's funny, but it just doesn't come across as funny. Like, yeah, Sony has had a problem in the past with their attempt at comedy. Like, Sony, just stop doing comedy. Stop injecting comedy into your fucking superhero movies. I think you might have a better chance at people liking your movie then. So, what else is in here? There's some cool shots, I guess. Like, yeah, there's that. It's a very dull looking movie. Like, there's not a lot of colors. There's not like an interesting visual scheme to the movie. Yeah, there's not much, I'm running out of things to say about this movie. Like the three teenage girls in this movie, I felt that they didn't really have a particular part to play in this movie. Like, this movie could have just been Dakota Johnson against fucking Elijah or Israel, whatever his name is. And I think that's what that would have maybe been a better story. Like, they're there because these four are supposed to team up in the future, and so we have to start developing their fucking friendship. Like, but yeah, if you remove them, this movie wouldn't be any different. Like, if anything, you'd be removing a lot of the boring parts from this movie, because there is a lot of downtime. Like, they could have cut 15 to 20 minutes off this movie, and it maybe would have been a little bit better. And just, Dakota Johnson's character, she's, when she starts repeating that same sequence over and over again, like, wouldn't you think that there's something up? Like, she never once, questions it, or she never once does anything, anything about it. She just gets mad, at her friends because they're asking her the exact same question. Like, wouldn't you, if they're asking you the same question, wouldn't you think, like, something's up, and wouldn't there be something in your brain that's kind of like, that's triggering this, like, this reverse cycle? Like, this is a movie that is a mess from beginning to end. But then saying that, this is a entertaining movie. Like, I had a good time with how cheesy this movie is. And is this going to be a movie I see again? No. But, was I entertained? Did I have a good time with this movie? Yes. But, I wouldn't really recommend anyone to go see it. So, take that as what you will. Anyways, that's my fucking, Madam Web spoiler review. I'm done with this movie.